The Green Suiters podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, head over to patreon.com/Green Suiters podcast. Now, on to the show.
Ben.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Sedgley.
Good
Ben,
evening, gentlemen.
Ben, I have a question for you.
Hang on, our sponsor today is White Claw.
White Claw.
Oh,
White Claw
man.
again, always coming through with the booze and the
Oh
money.
my God. White Claw.
Ben, serious question, because Mr. Sedgley and I are all booked, ready to go for Workbench Con officially, and it appears that we are waiting on one.
Woo!
All right, tonight, I'll book it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that
Just
was easy.
do it.
Yeah.
That was super easy.
Yeah, I'm getting stoked now.
Hey, Sedge, so I know we'll talk about what we've been doing, but my shop is just like a complete disaster. So I was starting to clean up today. And I had this big pile of like Festool stuff sitting on. It's supposed to go to somebody, but I just grabbed it. I need to make space, so I just threw it all away.
Oh, I do that every day at the dumpster, man. I just threw away all the stuff that came over in metric, and we have to have Imperial here for the States.
Right.
So I just
Totally
threw it in the
understandable.
dumpster. It was unbelievable.
It's like the new Boston Tea Party. Where
Oh,
we
sure.
we don't want to support this metric system.
We're just
Us
throwing
Americans.
Festool into the harbor.
That's right. In the
Yeah,
harbor.
Or
it
as
was
Sedge would
horrible.
say,
I threw away.
the
I
harbor.
threw away about 10 boxes of t-shirts because they didn't have the right color.
Rough life.
Uh-oh.
We're
No,
good. We
you're,
got you now.
you're there. We see you.
Okay, I'm still there. Okay, good.
Yeah, we got you now.
Good. Okay, good.
Just
'Cause
the
you guys
video
like
cut out for a second.
okay, you
We
guys
thought you were having a seizure.
I thought you guys froze there, and I was like, did I really say something to tick them off?
No,
Yeah.
you froze.
You
You
did.
were like,
Yeah. Now we know it's not just our problems. Now
That's
we have
right.
you we need to worry about.
Whatever. Are you guys getting
So-
psyched for Workbench Con or what, man?
I am.
I
I was
am.
thinking about it today. I think it's going to be
Man.
awesome.
They did list some additional people that are going to be speaking, a lot of the same people as before, but I looked on the website today, and up until now, it's kind of just been like 3 or 4 people and then a list of last year.
Mhm.
But there's about 5 or 6 new ones that weren't on there before.
Cool.
Jason, can you explain what Workbench Con is in case there are listeners that have never heard of it? Because it is still kind of new.
Yes, and actually, I totally forgot to talk about this. I did a Patreon call the other night with for my monthly group chat for certain levels over on my Patreon, and there was something that came up that I wanted to briefly discuss here tonight. But Workbench Con is it's basically it's a conference, and the way that it's always been structured in the past is very heavy on the networking and social media / content creation side of things. Last year in 2020, the last time they did one, they did start to branch out a little bit more and have some more hands-on classes. And I believe that's where they're trying to push this Workbench Con to be more of a 50-50 mix. So the people that I think are best suited to go to Workbench Con, anybody that is, if you're just trying to build, custom furniture for clients and you really don't care at all about the content creation side of things or the networking side of things, it may not be the best for you. However,
I disagree with that, but keep going.
well, because of the classes, most of the classes are not geared towards that. But when I was saying, however, before Mr. Whiteclaw rudely interrupted me,
Excuse me.
where you are going to really capitalize is in the evenings. And I would assume that this is probably something that Ben was going to hit on, because the networking and the things that you'll learn from other people in the community that have been in your shoes before, in my opinion, is invaluable. I've learned some cool stuff from the classes. For the classes that I did attend, I felt like the class that I did last year, that I taught last year, was productive to the people who are looking to just get a kick in the butt to start YouTube. But then I did talk to some people that did go to some of the hands-on classes, and they really learned a lot from it. I think that's why they're going to push it forward.
When you say hands-on, what do you mean? Like there's tools, they're working with tools, or they're working with
like
finishes?
showing techniques.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So like Fuji, for instance, was there in 2020, and they're going to be there again. And they did a spray techniques class with the Fuji systems last time. And Jim from Fuji, as far as I understand, he is going to be there again doing another one of those classes. Another example is, Total Boat was doing some epoxy stuff. Jess Crow, she's going to be there instructing something. More than likely, I would assume it probably has something to do with epoxy, because she has her own line of epoxy through Total Boat. What's her name? Little Bear.
Yep, Little Bear Furniture.
Yeah.
She's so daggone cool. She was at a Rubio school with me.
Yeah, she was at the same one I went to. I believe she's going to do something with power carving there. And I want to say that she did that last Workbench Con as well, if I remember correctly. So Alabama Woodworker, he was doing a class on some hand tool stuff last time, and that got really good reviews. So I think people were really interested in it. So going back to the topic of, what Workbench Con is, it's 3 days of a ton of fun hanging out with a bunch of people that that you followed, that you've created relationships with, and you'll walk away from there with tons of other friendships. It's a great time. The best part of the entire event, in my opinion, is the breakout sessions, but more importantly, after the classes are over and everybody's at the bar and everybody has a few drinks and they kind of let loose, and people start talking about all kinds of different things. Everybody wants to help each other out. It's just a fantastic time, and I'm really excited about going to it, and just kind of being able to just enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
We can all let our hair down.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
You mean me with all of this luscious hair right here?
You gotta let it go, man. You gotta
look at that.
You're holding on to something that just is no longer there. Your hair's been in a faint for years now.
It's fine.
I think I'm going to try to grow mine in 2022.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I think I'm going to grow it out.
Yeah,
grow a ZZ beard. Just go for it.
One hair that
you look awesome with a beard, man.
Do a ZZ, and then because I could grow a full head of hair, I just choose not to.
You'd be like a bald Santa Claus. No. So I mentioned, because you reminded me, Ben, by asking that question. The other night I did the Patreon conversation, and one of my patrons, Michael, said, in the Boston firefighting.
Oh yeah. Yep, Lyndon.
He asked me when we were going to discuss what the green suiters meant. And I realized we're going into episode 7 and we haven't actually talked about it. So I don't know, Ben, if you want to, we don't need to spend a ton of time on it. I think maybe now we kind of just briefly discuss, how the name came to be and what it means.
Yeah. So green suiters, it's a bit of a double-edged meaning in that, whenever you're in the military, there's different types of employees that work for the military. So you have active duty soldiers, who we would call green suiters, and then you'd have civilians that would work for us, whether they're like contractors or they're federal employees. We'd call them blue suiters. And so, given that Jason and I are military, Jason's still active duty, I'm retired. It kind of fit, that moniker fit with us because we're both green suiters, or were. And then with Festool, obviously the three of us really love Festool. One of its primary branding colors is green, and so it just made sense, and it was very different from other podcasts that were out there. So,
And I remember one time, I think the three of us were together and Rick was with us.
yeah,
And you called Rick and I green suitors. And I went, what the hell's that?
the two Festool employees, the green
Look,
suitors over there.
yeah, a couple of green suitors over there.
Look at those green suitors over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So,
was
well, I
funny.
think the reason why we thought it would be such good significance, especially bringing Sedge on, is because originally this was an idea that Ben and I had, the podcast that is, for years.
Yeah,
And
2017 is when we started talking about it.
right, and then we were discussing like what would be a good name, and then the green suitors came up because we thought it would be a good play on words because we both love Festool and both military. And then we were talking to Sedge, and we're like, Sedge works for Festool. This is perfect.
Well, and remember too that at one point we were thinking about making a joint YouTube channel.
Yep.
Wow.
We were, yeah.
I
Actually talked with Rick about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ben backed out like he does everything else.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, hey, Ben. Ben, I got to tell you, last week when I was in St. Louis doing that Festool Live and demo day at Beaver Industrial Supply, your name came up.
That's right. It was a Thursday. That's why I was able to go to it.
Yeah.
Because I have class on Fridays whenever y'all usually do the lives.
Your name came up. And they say, you know what they said? They go, yeah, man, Ben Marshall Designs. He's got a great motorcycle channel too. Isn't that cool? I thought I couldn't wait to tell you, man. And I said, he does? I am a little feisty tonight.
You are, man.
Yeah, you are. You ain't lying.
I've never seen this.
You're all riled up. Did you bring some booze to the podcast tonight?
No, you guys, you know what? This is episode number 7. And I've never had a sip of alcohol while doing these.
That's right. You haven't. Been a good little boy.
I have been a good little boy.
Wow. It's funny. This will be the only night this week until this weekend that I actually do drink.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
What?
I literally just got a message on Instagram from somebody saying, this is great. This is from, he has no idea I'm doing this, but literally this is live. Eric Oscar, he says, just getting caught up on your pod, and I'd like to suggest changing the name of the mean comments segment to Get Bent.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's really
I'm loving
good.
the show. Change approved, Eric. From this point forward, we will now call it Not the World Hates Jason, Get Bent.
Get Bent. That's really good.
How weird is that? During the podcast, I get a message about the podcast with a fantastic bit of information.
And Eric Gar.
It was Eric Oscar, ERICH Oscar.
And what was
Hold on, now I'm going to tell him.
What was also cool in St. Louis was there must have been at least 10 people that came up and said, man, we love the Green Suitors podcast.
That's awesome.
So I was digging that. I thought that was pretty cool.
I'll have to say, though, Jason, I don't think that Get Bent with an echo sounds as good as Everyone Hates Jason.
Well, maybe we need to hire one of those companies, like pay like $1.99. It could be like, Get Bent or something cool.
Get Bent.
Or you could just take that audio clip and there you go.
Sunday, 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 Get Bent.
He is on a roll tonight, man. Listen
Monster
to him.
truck rolling in town.
And he's clipping like crazy, Ben. You're gonna have fun with that one.
Oh man.
Oh no, I'm actually between 10 and 6.
He was all up in the microphone when he was doing that. So Sedge, you had already kind of started talking about what you were doing. So what else? You went to Beaver Industrial Supply for the demo. What else have you had going on since the last podcast?
Well, I'll tell you what was cool going to St. Louis. My buddy John Crumry took me to the Cards game, and they played the Brewers. They lost, but they had already made the playoffs. And man, we had a heck of a time. We were in the 5th row, basically behind, just almost right behind home plate. Great seats. That was fun. And I'm back in town, just hanging out, working like a dog, getting a lot of stuff ready for, all the live stuff I've been doing at Festool. We've been shooting here on the weekends, a ton of content for Sedge Tool. Having a lot of fun. Just loving life, man. Living the dream.
Hey, Jason,
what about you?
Did you ever get the invite to go to the game with them? I didn't get mine.
No, I'm pretty sure it must have
Do you
got
think
lost
that
in the mail because
that's what
FedEx.
I'm
In all
thinking.
fairness, FedEx and UPS have really been struggling lately.
They have been.
So
I got
the
a free
pandemic.
I got a free bobblehead. It was cool. It's bobblehead night of some player that was there last year, so it was pretty cool. But Jason, I know you like Michelob
did you put it
Ultra,
next to your Pete Rose bobblehead?
and I'm gonna. Man, that was good. No. No, but they had all the free, because it was Busch Stadium. They had all the free Michelob Ultra you could drink.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. All the free food. It was wicked. Did I say it was all free?
Must be nice. Must be nice.
It was okay. It was a nice game and great company. Chris Seibert was with me, and John Crumry, who's the owner of Beaver Industrial Supply. We've been friends for a while, and just really down to earth, genuine people. I like hanging out with cool people.
He would have been great. Me and Ben would have loved to have met him. I mean, it's not like I, haven't ever ordered any tools from his website or anything. It's not like I enjoy going to baseball games and drinking free beer. No, it's fine.
I don't even like that.
Yeah. I was just cutting my grass instead. It's pretty much the same thing. Thanks, Sedge. Anyways, Ben,
is that a butterfly? Is that a butterfly?
You had your chance. Is
that a butterfly?
You're dead to us. Sedge, not Sedge, dang it. Ben, what have you been up to?
Oh, well, a lot actually. So the first thing is that I finished Jennifer's door and then hung it.
We saw that. Looked great.
Yeah, it came out so great, and she probably for the last week every day she's just told me how much she loved it, and it was a really fun process to do and project to build.
That door looked like it was well hung.
Yeah, it's probably the only thing she said was well hung. We're a family podcast.
Anyways, and then I finally got my Shaper Origin.
Cool.
Oh man, that thing is so awesome. I'm in love. I've been playing with it every morning before I go to school.
Me too.
I'm not going there.
Yeah, I did. It's good, Sedge.
So I got that.
Now, I saw the clamp racks you've been making.
Yeah. I every morning before school I would make one of these little clamp racks that you can download off their website. It's free. And yeah. I'm having fun with it. Been playing with some designs.
You didn't design that.
It's...
You just downloaded it from them so you could practice using the Shaper.
No, I mean, it's people, you can upload files to, there's like a community hub, and you can share the files with anybody, and you can download it directly to your Shaper. The one that I built, I changed it a little bit. It's still the same premise, just changed the layout of it. But so yeah, just been cutting out things that other people have already designed just because it's already there. But I'm really interested in getting into Fusion, and I've been watching a lot of content on that, how to design in Fusion and how to export it to a cut file. So
Way
I
And
think,
I
cool.
would love it if you would learn Fusion.
oh, I mean, I am. I'm learning it now. So
Hmm.
Perfect. We
Yeah,
need to
perfect.
we need to have a conversation soon.
I have a
You know,
um,
it's sad. I
something.
paid. Go ahead, Sedge.
I have something you can design for me,
what's that?
and I'm happy to have Jason pay you for it.
Yeah, I bet.
No, I got a couple templates that I need done and designed, and maybe you can
Hmm.
design them on Fusion for me, because eventually I want to. It's a build I'm getting ready to do, and
Hmm.
it's just a couple of it's just oh I don't want to reach and get it, but it's really cool. It's
Right
for a
behind you.
boat. It's right. Yeah, it's for a bow saw. Hang on.
Him and I had talked about it, but it's pretty intricate with like all the curves and all that stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, so you
yeah.
can see it. And I mean, I just been building out of walnut and cherry these bow saws, and this is modeled after an antique piece that my dad gave me that I've been just toting around, and I finally got that saw back and running. So I says, you know what? I'm gonna use this as my bench,
Yeah.
my benchmark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to design it and kind of modernize it a little. And I've been buying the saw parts and blades from Gramercy Tool out of New York.
Hmm.
And it's we're getting ready to do it. That's why I got my lathe back up and running, because I'm turning the handles and everything
Hmm.
for it.
Yeah.
It has been a incredible joy to do it. And I've built a few of them already, so I'm ready to get some video on it and some content for everybody.
Is the bow saw, is that the precursor to the coping saw?
Kinda. That's it, there's a bunch of different things. And when I do the video, I'm going to talk about, some people call this a coping saw, some people call it a frame saw, some people call it a bow saw. I don't want to tell everybody it's basically all the same, but there's some similarities, and smaller ones can be coping, and I'm doing it. And the reason I wanted to get it back up and running is because I want to use it to cut the waste out before I chisel out my dovetails.
Mm.
And that's why, and it's just a really quick way. And I've heard them called turning saws, but
Hmm.
it's just really, like I said, it's been a real pleasure, because my dad gave me this,
Yeah.
and the twine on it had gotten discombobulated and lost and broken, and now I'm just finding different ways of making it happen, and it's really inexpensive to build.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you can make your own tools as well. That's also really
Oh
cool.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I got all kinds of T squares and squares that I've made myself. And it's fun doing that, because you can make them as small or as large as you want for
Yeah.
layout and everything. It's fun.
Yeah, and that's what I really love about the shaper is because I have all these design ideas that I want for either furniture pieces or for uh, shop, jigs or tools or whatever. And now I'm not limited by my hands pretty much because I suck at making templates and stuff like that. Now I can just design it in a CAD and cut it out on the shaper. And
Yep.
I mean, it does everything for me. I mean, obviously I have
Yeah.
to move the body of it around, but it's
Sounds like a
so
lot of work. Ugh.
it's so precise, but I don't know. I think it's so cool that I can take, I can work on designs anywhere. I don't have to be at home to work on a design and then
Yep.
be able to kick it out. And then the other thing that I've been doing, I just started it a few days ago. My basement flooded again.
What?
Probably a week ago, and so I was like, okay, like I'm done with this. So I'm going into full fix the basement mode. And so I live on top of a hill. The hilltop is pretty much my backyard. And so all of the water, when it rains, it runs straight into my house. There's no grading anymore around my house. And so all of that water has washed off the hydrophobic sealant that's on the backside of my house, and so it just seeps into my basement. Now it doesn't like get anything too bad. I mean, I'm able to clean it up within a few minutes as long as the rain kind of stops. But I'm just tired of it now, and
Yeah,
so
man.
I bought a chainsaw today. I had a whole bunch of shrubs and trees and stuff that were kind of around my house in the grading zone. And so I had to cut all those things down. Um,
Hmm.
and then I pulled them off the property, put it in a burn pile, and I just finished that today. And actually,
Wow.
I didn't finish it, but I stopped about an hour before we got on to here. And then once I need to dig up all the old root systems, and then I can start digging, putting in some French drains,
Yeah,
fix
man.
the grading, fix the ceiling around the basement,
Hmm.
because eventually I'm going to live down there. The
Yeah.
goal is to outfit the basement so that um, I'll eventually live down there with my shop and everything else. I've had a floor plan for 2 years, and so it's like, okay, it's finally time to fix this drainage issue, because I can't start down there because it floods every time there's a heavy rain. Um,
Is it going to be expensive to do the things you want to do to fix the problem?
I don't think so. I've had a few contractors come out and estimate it. And each one, it ranged, if I had them do it, it ranged between $50,000 and $80,000 to do it.
Wow.
The majority of that was labor. Um, and so I think that I can kind of partition a few things now. Um, and all of them said that 90% of the issues would be solved with a French drain. They said that by and large, if you installed a French drain in the backyard that would catch all of that rainwater, and you fixed the grading, 90% of this would go away. Um,
Hmm.
like the house is, let me see, the house is 50 something years old, 51 years old, and so the sealant that was around the basement, obviously, it's deteriorated now. Um,
Hmm.
and I've been researching a lot of sealant solutions that are out there, and so I think that I can do it for myself for probably around $15,000 in materials.
Wow.
Um, so that's a hell of a lot better than paying $80,000.
Boy, that's
Agreed. Can
ambitious.
you get any, I think we talked about this before when you were originally thinking about doing it. Is there any way to get insurance help with this?
No, I already tried, because it's not a sudden problem. It's not a sudden issue like a pipe bursting or, you know, some unplanned catastrophic event. It's because the grading slowly over time eroded, or the grading around the house just wasn't done properly. I the more that I kind of went into ripping out the basement, because the basement was, well, it wasn't fully finished. Half of it was finished with drywall and all this other stuff. Because about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it flooded the first time, and then about 2 years ago, um, is when I started to see like the sheetrock started to act kind of funny. Like,
Hmm.
so I started ripping it out. I was like, holy crap, there's mold everywhere. So I
Oy.
completely gutted my basement. Um, and I tried to get insurance involved. I'm like, hey, there's mold and there's all this other stuff. Like, well, you know, because they looked at the contractor's estimates, and they're like, they're saying that this is a grade issue. It's not something sudden, so we're not going to cover the cost of it. I'm like, well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, insurance that I pay for and hopefully never have to use. But then when I do need to use it, I can't use it.
Yeah. So that was a swift kick to the giblets about that one. But I mean, it's going to suck because I have to dig along the entire backside of my house. My house is like one big rectangle. So I think it's probably like, I don't know what the cubic feet or meters is going to be, but my house is it's about 100 feet long. And so I have to dig 100 feet along the back of the house, 2 to 3 foot trench for probably 7 feet deep. So I got my work cut out for me.
Holy macanoli, that's a lot of work.
Hmm.
That's a lot of white claws.
It is.
For sure.
But so
too
I've been
too
buying
bad Sedge
tools.
and I aren't out there to help out.
Well, they had
When
these
you
things
actually have
called
something fun to do,
roads.
let us know. We'll come over. That doesn't sound fun at all.
Hey, you keep
No.
saying you're going to move into the basement. Who's going to live upstairs?
So I have 3 bedrooms upstairs. The room that I'm in now, my oldest daughter will eventually live in.
Oh, cool.
And then that'll give the other 2 kids their own individual rooms.
Way cool.
Hmm. Yeah.
Way
Nice.
cool.
But I'm looking forward to it. Not the ceiling the basement part, because I think that's going to suck. But once I'm able to finally start working on the basement, framing it and everything, that's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that I'll be able to make a lot of content around that.
Ultimate man cave.
That's right.
Mhm. Wow.
What have you been up to, Jason?
Oh, hold on. Yes, buddy.
Cool. Cool.
Oh, you did a big stinky?
All right. Come on.
This is great podcast content. Did you want to
It
show me?
is.
Okay.
Hold it.
You want me to hold it?
Yeah. Don't drop it.
I won't drop it, buddy.
Nice.
Wow. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, come here. Come here.
Hi, Leo.
Hi,
Oh, man.
Leo.
Hey, dude, you got some sweet jammies on, man.
Woo!
Say hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Hi, Ben.
Say
Hey,
hi,
what's up,
everybody
buddy?
listening.
How are you listening?
You want to, Leo? Don't squeeze it. Do you want to tell them what you just did?
Yeah.
What? Tell them.
I did a big stinky.
You did a big
You did?
stinky.
Oh, that's awesome. Good job.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
No, no more, buddy.
All right.
Time to go
You took
night
a
night.
You did a big stinky.
You did a big stinky.
Nice.
Wow. Good night.
That's funny.
So before I talk about what I did this week, I don't know if he hit any of the settings on my microphone. I hope he didn't. Do I still sound okay to you guys?
Oh yeah. Sound
Okay.
the same.
So for some reason lately, when he does a big stinky, he loves to show daddy, like every single time. So Nicole just texted me, any chance we can come show you his stinky? I
I
said,
made that, Dad. I made it.
I said, yeah, if you have to, it'd actually be probably pretty funny for the podcast. All right, anyway, let's get back on track because we're already at 30 minutes here. I was off work last week. Nicole came home early from Germany, and because my son was having issues, and he was, obviously homesick and that kind of stuff. So they came home early. They were still there for about a month, but they came home early, and we were talking about it. And the next project that I was going to start was going to be his bed. And then Nicole and I finally said, well, hey, why don't we focus on upstairs? Because obviously, Ben, you and Jen are coming out in a couple of weeks, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then Patrick and Michelle hopefully will be coming out for Leo's birthday, which is something I'll talk to you after this offline, Ben, about that. But we feel bad because that's like the one room that we haven't put any focus into. And so we remodeled the entire thing. I mean, we pulled out all the baseboards, the flooring. I replaced the flooring, replaced the baseboards. We repainted, got new like decor, new bed frame. We put a new bed up there. We redid the entire bathroom, changed out the toilet, built a new vanity, all new fixtures. I mean, everything we did,
Mm-hmm.
we did all of it. And we got it, I would say 97% done last week. So that was really good to be able to focus on that. The vanity came out absolutely awesome. The bathroom is just fantastic. The room just looks a million times better.
Can you tell me, because I remember watching your stories because you made the vanity out of riffs on, right?
Correct.
The side panels that you had for the actual vanity, was that a veneer or was that a plywood? Because I remember
So
seeing the repeating pattern. I just couldn't tell what it was.
I used 3/4 inch pre-finished birch for the cabinet construction, the box construction.
Yeah.
On the side that I needed white oak because it's visible, I actually cut a piece of 1/4 inch rift and quarter sawn white oak plywood.
And then you
And I
laminated them
sanded off,
together.
yeah, I sanded off all the finish on the, because obviously, the glue is not going to stick to the finish. So I sanded all that down and then just laminated them. Turned out perfect. And
Okay.
then on the edge banding, I just did, almost an inch thick edge banding on that side. And, only like 3 or 4 millimeters of it is visible because I have full overlay doors. But it turned out great. I mean, and
Yeah.
the color on it is I'm actually a little disappointed. I used the Target coatings flat again on that, and it just gave a much better, color tone for the white oak than the Rubio did. There's a big part of me that actually, kind of wants to refinish the bathroom vanity in our bathroom just because it does have that more of an orangish tint to it. But yeah, the bedroom's done, and we're really excited to have people over there and be in that. But other than that, that's really all I've been doing. I think I'm going to make a couple of nightstands. We still might
Mhm.
buy some that match a small desk that we bought. Same design. That we just think it would be smart to do that. But I also have a pretty cool nightstand design that I want to do. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get it done in time, but that's kind of the next focus, that and Leo's bed. So those will be the next 2 projects that I start working on. But other than that, I haven't really been doing much. Obviously, I'm back to work now, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. But Ben, since we're talking about that real quick, I did want to throw something to you. I would assume that the reason why you guys are coming out the weekend that you are is probably because of things in your schedule. Am I correct in
Yeah.
assuming that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think Nicole and I were talking, we're like, yeah, it'd be really cool if they could come down for Leo's birthday, which is like the weekend of November 7th. I'm like, if Ben's giving a date that he can come, it's probably for a reason. So
Yeah.
but we're good either way. Because if you come the same weekend as Patrick and Michelle, then we'll have to work something out with Sedge where
Yeah, because she's already coordinated with work to get that Friday off. So
yeah, no, it's fine. We're
yeah,
all for
it's
it.
too late to change it now.
I'll be off. I'll be on a 4-day that weekend.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and get into the topic. Tonight is my topic, and so the topic basically is going to deal with shop layout and workflow, kind of. And we've talked about some things that kind of have to do with this topic. Matter of fact, Chad's question that he asked, one of our patrons, if we had to change one thing about the shop, a lot of that's tied to this. But this is a question that I get asked so much because there's a common misconception about, shop layout, right? And so I'm going to prove a point here. I'm going to ask both of you guys a question, and that is, Ben and Sedge. Ben, I'll ask you first. Is your shop, and all I need is a simple yes or no, is your shop layout the same today as it was when you first started woodworking?
Like 5 years ago, started woodworking?
Yep.
Oh no, I mean everything is completely different.
Sedge, what about you?
No.
Okay. So I wanted to start the conversation off with that because there's a misconception that I'm trying to achieve the perfect shop layout. What is that? Well, it depends, right? It completely depends on what it is you're doing, depends on where you are, depends on what you're building. But even if whatever you're building, there's still no perfect layout, because unless you've gone through every single, possible layout known to man, you may never find it, right? And even if you do, that doesn't mean it's a perfect layout. Like, if my perfect layout may not be a perfect layout for Ben, it may not be a perfect layout for Sedge. But the reason I want to talk about this is because one of the most beneficial things to discussing this is hearing new ideas and different reasonings behind it, because everybody's reasonings and different ideas that they have, something that one of us say might spark something in them setting up their shop or changing something in their shop. And a
Yeah.
really good example of what I'm talking about is I love the layout of my shop. I'm obviously still tweaking things, but I love watching shop layout, shop tour videos, shop layout videos. Michael Alm from Alm Fab just did one recently, and I found it very interesting. There's a lot of things that I would never do, but there was some things in there I was like, man, and it could be the smallest little thing, and I'm like, I never thought about that, right? And so that's the topic. That's kind of where we're going to go. And so I'm going to start this off with a question, and Ben, I'll kick it over to you first. I want to hear your guys' insights, and then I'll answer. So I'll pose the questions, and then we'll kind of go through that, Ben and Sedge, and then I'll chime in. But the first question is, the first topic to talk about is, what is the key area, tool, or component that is the most important to your workflow, and why? So Ben, you're first.
Right now, mine's my MFT3, because everything that all of my projects start off at the MFT3. I may break down materials like offsite, but if I'm doing any large cross cutting, it's being done on the MFT3. I just recently sold I had a huge workbench. It was, I don't know, 5 or maybe 6 or 7 feet long. And it was just a regular assembly table, the same kind that most people have in their shops, but it was so huge that it just kind of got in the way. So recently the change was being the MFT3. And it's a core component to my workflow just because it has the dog holes in it. I can clamp everything down to it. That's where my Vaxis is. Whenever I just got the Shaper Origin, I do all of my projects off of it. And it is currently centrally located in my shop area in my basement. And then everything else is kind of a periphery to that. Everything else is against the walls, out of the way.
Don't go too deep into that specific part.
Yeah.
Just yet.
But currently the MFT3, that's the crux. That's where I use all of my tools. That's where I use my domino. That's where I use my track saw. Everything gets done on the MFT3.
Okay, so you would say, before I kick it over to Sedge, you would say that, so your MFT is essentially your workstation / assembly table.
Yes, it's the core. It is the center of my workshop, figuratively and literally.
Okay, so that's the heart of your shop. That is the most important part. Okay, Sedge.
Yeah. My workbench, it's in the center of my shop. It's where I do all my hand tools. It's my bench area. But that is the center, and in the center is my CS70, because that's my cheetah table. My workbench is my cheetah table. Everything's the same height in my shop.
Mm-hmm.
So for my CS70,
why is that, Sedge?
Why is what?
Why is everything the same height in your shop?
Because that's what you do in a shop. You make it all the same height, because
I was hoping you'd say because it's Festool.
Well, no, it's all Festool, and my MFT table is or one of my MFT tables is my outfeed where my Vaxis is. So that's my flow. I don't like to walk around, and I got a 3-saw garage, and I could talk about a bigger shop, a much larger shop, which I can, because it's all about workflow. I don't like moving things multiple times. Yeah. And I got a lot of insight on different areas in the shop. Because once you say, oh, you keep filling your shop, keep filling your shop, keep filling your shop, that's a big no-no. Because when you start building stuff, where are you going to store it until you finish it? And do you want to keep moving it back and forth, back and forth? No, you have to have a killer assembly area. You have to have that space. And then where do you spray? And then where do you machine? So my central location, and I'll just stop right here, is my workbench. That's where everything, my hand tool bench, through my CS70 table saw and my 8 feed, and I do a lot of assembly over my MFT, and I work off my MFT as well. It's
Okay,
a big
so
bench. It's basically, it's a big bench.
You said something I think is going to segue really well into a later part of this, but you're keeping in mind movement from one tool to the other when you're setting up your shop, correct?
You have to, and you're always tweaking it because you don't want to move things continuously. And you know what's really funny is I'm getting a text from somebody who was the ultimate business partner. My business partner in my cabinet shop is texting me right now, and we tweaked our workflow down in our cabinet shop. We had almost 2,000 square feet, and we had a 14-foot bay door. One material went in and worked around the shop, spraying and going out, because we didn't want to. It just seemed like we were moving things in the beginning to get out of the way to do another process.
Right.
But if you can get that workflow down, you eliminate so many frustrations. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes.
My material came in one door, went in the lumber rack. The lumber rack fed onto my table saw. It fed into my bench area and other machining area, assembly area. We didn't have to.
Let's not dive too much into that, right?
Okay, but it's all about workflow.
Yeah, we're going to get to a topic where that conversation. I know exactly where you're going with it, and it is perfect for the last part of this.
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight. So when Sedge is thinking about it, Sedge is, and I think you and I are very similar in this. It's like, where do I spend the most time, and where can I maximize, the amount of steps, or minimize, excuse me, where can I minimize the amount of steps to go from one to the other? Because I've been there.
Steps you take, yeah.
Right. It's like my miter saw is way over here, and the next place that I go from the miter saw is typically this tool, but then I had another thing in between me, and so I have to go around something. Yeah. So that's a really, really great topic that we'll save to the third part of this. But coming to mind, I'm pretty much the same as these guys. And I don't think it's any surprise. For me, it's the assembly table, 100%. And my assembly table is 3 MFTs. I think most people have seen it by now. Anybody that follows me, at least, 3 MFTs on top of a workbench. They're all connected together. I have a very large assembly table, probably larger than I need, but it is absolutely fantastic, and it is hands down the center of my shop. Everything revolves around this one thing. And so with that being said, since all 3 of ours were kind of the same, there's two points I wanted to make about this. One is, I always get asked, like, oh, I'm getting ready to set up my shop. How should I set it up? Well, think about that's why I wanted to ask this question first. Like, think about the one thing. What's the one place that you spend the most time? That is what you need to make everything revolve around, right? And the second point I wanted to make is the comment I always hear about people saying that the table saw is the heart of my shop. It's the heart of any shop. I don't understand that.
It's a process. It's a process step of your projects, but I don't.
Yeah, it's like you're not, unless you're making all your furniture, everything you cut is on the table saw. Like I just don't, like, maybe if you have a table saw with a giant outfeed table, which is also acts as your assembly table, maybe I can understand that. Go ahead, Sedge.
And where that comes is that you want to put the table saw kind of in the center of the shop, because a lot of people are working out of a garage, okay, small area. And a lot of people think, oh, a table saw doesn't take up much room. Yes, it does. You have to have 10 feet forward, 10 feet in back, at least. right? Oh, I open up
In a
the
perfect
door.
world.
In a perfect world. And then I always allow probably 4 to 6 feet on either side off of the outfeed tables. You have to have that. And that's where I think it comes about. Because I've said it too. The table saw is the heart of the shop, but it's because you got to allot for a lot of room around it. It sucks up a lot of room. It really does.
For sure. I think that's a very valid point when you're talking about people that are in a tight space. Because I'm like, I used to have my table saw turned one way, and I might change it again, but I've now turned it. I have, I think, just at 8 feet before the blade, just at 8 feet after the blade. If I ever needed longer than that, I could open up my garage door, but I can't put a hole in the wall on the other side, right? So now, granted, again, this goes back to the conversation that there's not a perfect layout for everybody, because the things that I'm building in my shop, I can't tell you the last time I cut something 8 feet long on my table saw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I have a lot of other tools that can do similar tasks. So before we start going down too far of a rabbit hole, and we're already pretty deep into this podcast, let's go ahead and go into the second part of this, which is, now that we've kind of established what the heart of our shops are, right? Or it kind of explain the importance to determine what the heart of your shop is and why that's important. So with that being the place that kind of everything revolves, so what are items that you have nearby or want to have nearby, and why? So Ben, again, we'll have you go first.
How I guess how deep do you want to now? Is this just like the things that I have on my MFT3? Because I always leave the same things on my MFT3. Like they're always there ready to go for the next project.
No, so the way I'm thinking about this, a perfect example right behind me, what do I have?
Your Omni.
A miter saw station, right?
Yeah.
I've got all the tools that I would use at my assembly table. I've got, a wall full of clamps, that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I'm like, okay, so now you've established what the center of your shop is.
Okay, I got you.
What
So
are the other things that you have around it, and why did you place them there because of what your centralized location is? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And this goes back to what Cedric's talking about, I think in the last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes back, about the golden triangle. Whenever he first
The
said
Kama
that,
Sutra move.
exactly, that's what I was
Mhm.
thinking of.
It all depends on how flexible you are.
Yeah, hold on. No, I can't do it. I can't lift my head or my leg that high.
So if I'm standing at my MFT3, at the user position of it, immediately to my right is the new clamp racks that I just made with the Shaper Origin. So all of my clamps are immediately to the right within arm's reach.
Where'd you get all those clamps, by the way?
I got them from Bessie.
Bessie Bend.
Bessie Bent, yeah. And then immediately in front of the MFT3, again, this is as I'm sitting in it, is my CMS router table, and then just to the left of that is the miter saw. Now, I may switch those at some point because I really don't use the router table as much as I use my miter saw, but I have all of my Festool and the Sustainers that are just to the right of the CMS table. And so those are, again, well, I mean, they're not within arm's reach. They're within 2 steps of the MFT3. And mainly it's just because I'm waiting for my basement to be ready so that I can start, hanging stuff on walls and stuff like that. And then on my MFT3, I have my Vaxis there installed, ready to go. I leave my iPro on there. I have my hearing protection. Everything is on the MFT, ready for the next project. But and then just to the right of my MFT3 is the Conturo. I mean, everything is kind of within a corner of my MFT3. I don't know if that answers what you're trying to get at.
It does, but why? Why do you have it set up that way?
So if you could think of my MFT3 as being the apex of a V or being in the apex of a triangle, you know, to my, if I'm sitting in my MFT3, 12 o'clock is to my front, to my 1 o'clock are all of my tools in their sustainers. All of them are in the same location. To my 12 o'clock is my CMS. To my 11 o'clock is the Capex miter saw. To my 3 o'clock is the Conturo and my clamps. And then that's it. Like there's nothing else behind me. You know, it's a forward walk to get to the next piece or to get to the next tool or to switch out the next tool. I keep my vac, my CT26 to my right, uh, my floor robot that I use to clean the floors for me, it's to the right. Like everything is between the 11 and 3 o'clock of my MFT3. And it's because it is the shortest distance away for me to get to it. Um, and because it kind of goes into a flow where if I needed to crosscut something that maybe I just didn't want to do on my MFT3, I would go to the miter saw, I would crosscut it there, and then let's say I needed to put dados or grooves in, I would go to the CMS table, and then from there, if I needed to go to the contour to edge band something after I've already ripped and cross-cutted it, I would go to the Conturo, and then from the Conturo, I would go back to the MFT3 to clean off the edge banding, to do everything. So everything kind of goes in a clockwise manner as far as processes go.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then, this is exactly the way I was hoping this conversation was going to go, because without really knowing or meaning to talk about it, we're talking about a very common trend, and that is, the shop is being set up in a way that it makes sense to move from one thing to another.
Yeah, there's a flow
Right.
to it.
So Sedge, go ahead and based on the way you have your shop set up, like what are the items that you have nearby, and why
Okay,
it's
so
important to the center of your shop.
you guys are making me think a lot because I'm always, always, always. Jason, you've come over almost every weekend or every other weekend, and I'm always switching my layout.
Yeah, every time I come there, it's different.
Yep.
Every time.
And it seems like I'm gaining more space, but it's not that I'm tucking things away. I put on the periphery of the shop, I'm putting all the things that I don't use all the time, but they're fairly easy accessible. Everything, and when I say I'm tweaking things, and I'm thinking about, okay, so I'm sorry I'm so sketchy because I told you what the center of my workshop is. It's my workbench. I have drawers down below. They also work as my dead man and one of my vices. So what I need close by are all my measuring and marking tools, which I have in the drawers. Okay, and I'm always tweaking that. My hand saws to the left, where I have my planer, my 735 planer. Down below, I have, geez, I never really counted, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drawers of hand planes and spoke shaves, all my scrapers. I have to have all that readily accessible. Okay, but a bench with good vices. I just built a Moxon vise. It's all there to hold my handwork. But when it comes to machining, my Capex is like 5 steps away. I do all my cuts over there. But what has really opened up my shop a little, I'm not saying a little, a lot, is I bought that STM 1800, and I use it to move material around the shop.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was doing that. But I'll go from maybe my table saw, or I'll use the STM to break down sheet goods. I'll leave it on there. I'll move that off to the side. I'll bring it to wherever I need it. To my MFT, it's the same height. To my crosscut, it's just, and then I use it to put parts on there that I say I got a lot of 50 millimeter strips to rip. To cut, crosscut, and then I move them over to my bench. So everything I want to be probably within 5, 6 steps, I'm thinking, around the shop. but I wanted, I said it earlier, I want that open space that you see when you come over now, because
Where we do our
that's my
breakdancing.
where we do our break dancing and Leo pounds nails into
Yeah.
boards. And but it's an open area where I can use it as my assembly area. I can use
Right.
it as I'm building something. It's out there, and I'm getting ready to do that. You know, that slab that's been leaning up for a long time. I'm actually going to start working on that, because you know that table I helped you deliver. I was your intern there. I really
Right.
like that. That base kind of inspired me. All those 5-degree cuts you did there. But
Nice.
I'm gonna that'll
Come
probably
over.
be
I'll
my
teach you how to do it.
oh yeah, whatever. And but I think I'm gonna do it out of cherry, because I think that'll look good with the ash that I have. That slab of ash I have. Did that come out right?
A little bit. It was kind of sexual in a way, but
A little bit.
we'll let it slide.
I
Okay,
think the
good.
STM 18. That's the next thing that I want to get.
It is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing. That's where I rip all my plywood down. It's.
Do you think that it would function as a good assembly table if you made some flats to go on it?
Yes. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Just because of how compact you can
Oh my
make that
God.
thing.
And it goes right
so
underneath
small.
it folds right up under an MFT, and people don't realize that. And it's all steel construction.
Yeah,
Ben, in your shop, Ben, I think it would make sense. I would love to have one. I just don't have the space for it.
Yeah.
Because like I don't need it. I have a very large assembly table. If I didn't have this,
I have a really big shop.
yeah, I don't need one, because I have 3 MFTs that aren't even on their legs. I took them off actually because I just pee money. No. So let me get into
piss excellence and money.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Burns every once in a while. Hey, so for me, okay.
Razor blades.
So
razor blades.
Yeah, razor blades. My the assembly table is obviously like the heart of my shop, right? So what I was trying to get at with this, and I think we're right on it, right? Is I think about it like this: everything that's around my assembly table are either stations that I would naturally go to from an assembly table, or things that I would use at my assembly table. So I know that if you're somebody that's watching this, you'll see, but obviously behind me, I've got all of my festool tools and non-festool tools, right? That I would use at my assembly table in easy reach, because this is where I'm doing it. I have a CT that's right next to my assembly table that hooks to all those tools. All of my clamps, all of my measuring and marking devices are either in drawers, sanding equipment. It's all right here, because those are tasks that are being done at that workstation. Now, on the flip side of that is, I have the Home Depot Husky cabinets that I bought, which were a fantastic addition to the shop, but nothing that I would ever need at the assembly table is in those, because they're on the other side of the shop. Why would I put those items there? And that's kind of what I was trying to drive at here is, when you're laying out your shop, it's not just important to figure out, what is the heart of your shop, but now think about, like, what are you going to be doing at that thing that's so important? And how are you going to set up your shop to have the tools that you utilize at that workstation readily accessible? So, stuff that I use at the table saw, all my extra blades, all of my, table saw cleaning supplies, push sticks, all that stuff. I'm not going to keep that next to my, I'm not going to keep them in my miter saw station, because I'm going to use them at the table saw. So, when you're going through the motions and trying to set up your shop, you need to identify those things, because literally everything that I use at this assembly table is a step away, right? I can just turn around. And then that's the other thing too. So this will kind of get into the next question. And this will kind of get at what you were talking about, Sedge, in terms of when you started, like, saying, we came in the shop and we did this, but I think about it like this. If I'm going to start a project, I'm going to be picking lumber, right? So I'm going to build some, we'll use the example of the nightstands I was talking about building. If I'm going to build those, I'm going to walk out to my shop. I'm going to go to my lumber racks. I'm going to pick out boards that I think would be good for that project. Where do you think I'm going to take those boards to as I pick them out?
Jointer.
Nope.
Joint a planer.
You're gonna cross cut
Nope.
them first.
Oh,
Nope. Nope. Where am I going to take them from the lumber rack? Where's the first place I'm going to put
Oh,
them?
your workbench. You're gonna mark
My
'em.
workbench, my assembly table, because that's where I'm going to
yeah.
inspect them. That's where I'm going to mark them. That's where I'm going to
Yeah.
figure out what direction I need to put them on the joiner planer. So again, that's why this is the heart, right? Everything originates from here. Now I'm going to take those boards. I'm going to put them on my assembly table. From there, I might need, my marking devices, my tape measures. Well, guess what? They're all in arm's reach. They're all right here. Then I'm going to take them to my joiner planer. So they're going to go from my assembly table to joiner planer, which happens to be right next to my assembly table. Then they're going to come back to this. From there, then I might, trim one end, cross cut them on the miter saw. From there, they're going to go to the table saw. But they're always going to be going to and from a tool from this location. So whatever I need for them at this location to do whatever task, that's what I want to make sure I have nearby, right? That's why my assembly table is right next to my miter saw, because a lot of cases I'm going to be taking items from here and finalizing my cuts on the miter saw. I might joint and plane them, and then I'm going to take them over to the table saw, put them to their final width, whatever the case is. And so like those are the items that I want to have, clamps, obviously, my nailers, my glue, my adhesives, my finishes, my the tools, chisels, hand tools, even though that makes me sick to say, my dominoes, whatever, all the things that I need, they're all in this station and not on the other side of the shop. And that's kind of the point that I was trying to drive home. So now let's get into the third part of this. And Sedge, this is where you started to dive into this, and I want you to expand on it when it comes back around to you. But this is perfect for what you were talking about. So what are some important considerations that you would look for in a new shop? This is a two-part question. So if you were to stop, if you were to pull everything out of your shop, or you were to buy a new house and have a new shop or move from one space to another, what are some important considerations that you would look for or consider in that shop when you're looking at it? And then what have you learned over the years that have basically, caused you to look at those things? So Ben, go ahead.
What? I totally blanked out. Say that again. I thought you were talking to Sedge.
What were you doing, Ben? What were you doing? Were you on Tinder?
Looking at Festal stuff.
Your kitty's on your bed.
Unbelievable.
Did
I just hear a train derail? No, you always are first after me. I'm running this one tonight, Ben.
Ooh. Yes, sir.
Hey, Ben. Ben, I'm the captain now.
You got a planer I can borrow?
Yeah. So, all right.
I was looking up STM 1800 prices. Okay.
You don't need to look at that right now. What are some important considerations? You need to buy Workbench Con tickets before you buy an STM. What are important considerations that you would look for in a shop? And what have you learned over the years? And so what I mean by that is, if you were to gut your shop and have to start from scratch, or if you were to move and have a new space for a shop, what would be the things that you're looking for in that space based on what you've had in previous shops, what you need to put in that shop? It could be anything, lighting, it could be whatever, right? It could be where the door's located to figure out where you're going to pull in your lumber, anything. And then what over the years, have you learned that's caused you to think about those things?
I would say the first thing is electrical. Depending on the layout, depending on the structure of the building, it is usually most beneficial, especially if you're operating a shop out of your home. Operating on your own sub panel is probably more beneficial than anything else. One, you might be able to monitor your own electricity consumption, which would help with taxes and stuff like that. But there were many times in the past, whenever I first started woodworking, where I would be ripping on the table saw, because I had the old rigid contractor table saw, and somebody Yeah, somebody upstairs would turn on a light or something like that that was on that same circuit and cut the saw off. Or the saw was just drawing too much, or it was trying to draw too much and it would just trip the breaker. And so you're in the middle of a rip, um, and it would trip off. So I would say electrical is huge. Another thing would be uh, electrical outlet locations. Making sure that you have plenty um, going along the walls, because again, shop layouts change based off of what you're making, the tools that you have. Like, even though there is nothing that I have right now that operates off of 220, I'm still going to have a couple 220 outlets because I never know what I'm going to have in my shop. So having some dedicated 220 outlets, again, also on their own sub panel. And then the next thing would be lighting. Lighting is huge when it comes to a shop space that you're going to use. Lighting, proper good lighting is going to help you see certain defects, especially when it comes to finishing. I remember finishing certain projects, and these were all commission builds, and whenever I would move them out of my basement to, go ship them or deliver them or whatever, I would see stuff whenever I walked into the daylight. I'm like, holy crap, I couldn't even see this in my shop because, the lighting was just terrible. And so having a well lit shop definitely helps out. And
Right. The
before I even
customer probably would never notice.
well, yeah, but at the end of the day, like that's my name behind that item.
I know that was a joke. I'm sorry. I guess the
Yeah,
delivery was bad.
it was very bad as usual.
Sorry.
But those are the first two considerations that I would even think of before I even put a tool into that space. Electrical outing or outlets and availability, sub panel, and then my own lighting. And then the next thing that I would do would be the flooring. That was going off of the episode that Chad sponsored. I think it was episode 5. Where both you guys mentioned how having your flooring, a certain color is going to help reflect light. And it's also, that's where your feet are going to be the entire time. And so, not to say that putting epoxy floors is going to help your back pain, but having some fatigue mats, is definitely going to help, especially if you're in a long sanding session or whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going to be standing a long time, but having floors that reflect the light that you're casting, it's only going to make it easier to see things. And that is currently one of the challenges that I have in my shop. Is the lighting it's okay for a huge open floor plan, but when it comes time for me to renovate the basement, lighting is going to be one of the very first things that I do. Electrical is going to be the first thing that I do. Lighting is going to be the second. Because it has become a pain whenever I'm working on projects right now, especially at night, because the lighting just sucks at night. Um, I think this is where the three of us may differ. I'm a huge fan of the moniker of less is always more. I said at the beginning of the episode how I just sold my 7-foot workbench. It was just a massive table, but not that it got in the way. Like I could have kept it in my layout to where it wouldn't have really gotten in the way. And obviously I still used it. Like that was my assembly table, but to me, it was more beneficial to have more space. Even though right now my entire basement is completely open, it's 1,000 square feet of openness. The only thing that's in the way are the steel beams that run down the middle of it. But for me, for my own, not mental well-being, but like it, I feel freer to make things when I don't have clutter. So when I finish up my basement and I have my own shop layout, I'm not going to add anything you know substantial to it as far as like more tools go. Like I have zero desire to get a G500 or a G700 air processor down there. I don't want a whole
Wow,
lot
I
of
guess we're
tools.
never gonna have Harvey sponsor this podcast.
Oh man, that goes out the window right there.
But for me as a person, I am more happier whenever there's less around me, like
Can
less
I
stuff
can
around
I
me.
can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
So you had made a comment. You said this is where you think that we're going to differ. Believe it or not, I'm with you. I
How come?
really am. Um, I mean, I have a lot of stuff in the shop.
You thinking of
For
getting rid of your G700?
no, God
I'm just kidding.
no. But like, I'm trying to find ways to make more space now because I'm just like you, and I
Yeah.
know that that's hard to believe, but like, I am. I want to get rid of my drum sander, and like, I'm
Yeah.
pretty dead set. Like, I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
My router table, I'm probably going to get rid of because I'm just not using it.
Yeah.
Now, what maybe will I maybe replace that with a CMS if I can get one? Yeah, I might, but that doesn't. It's right now I'm limited on space, and I don't like feeling so cluttered and having to move things out
Yeah.
of the way. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. And one thing that I will say is when I go on Festival Owners Group and when I go on, well, basically, yeah, Festival Owners Group, because that's pretty much the primary one. And I see these shops that are, and I know that again, this is not all about festival and everything like that, but I mean, it's a big part of my, my career choice, right? And
You're
it's a big part
literally
of my
wearing a
shop.
festival shirt right now.
I'm
So
literally
let's
wearing a festival polo. Isn't it nice? Don't you wish
it
you
is
had one of
nice.
these? Um,
Yeah, I do.
I threw 2 of them away yesterday, but um,
Jason,
when
you
I
think you
see
can get
those
one for
like
Sedge?
when I see those minimalistic shops that are just like open and clean, like I love
Mhm.
it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Like I feel like my shop is cluttered and I am looking for ways to do it. So I just wanted, because you said you thought we differed. Like, dude, I'm totally with you, man. Like if I could declutter my shop, like ever since you talked about it in one of the episodes, I've been like trying to find ways like what can I get rid of right
Yeah.
now?
Like I hate, well, not, I don't want to say I hate, but I don't I don't have any duplicates in my shop. Like I don't have um I don't have 2 sets of Phillips head screwdrivers. I have one. Because it's like I don't need it, and it's, again, to me, less is always more. It's more space that I have to put a project. It's more space that I have to move around. I don't have to, and not to say that I've always been like this, because I haven't. Whenever I first started woodworking, I remember in the middle of a client build, I
Said
had
just laughing
nowhere.
because he has
I am so
97 of everything.
glad. I am so glad we're recording this.
I had
Speak into the microphone, Mr. Marshall.
I had I had nowhere. I had no horizontal surfaces to put parts of this build. And I was just like, crap, man. And like all of the things that were occupying that horizontal space, I didn't even really use it that much. But now that I have a shop to where literally everything, maybe with the exception of the contour because I don't edge band everything, every project. Um, every other tool that I have, I use on every single project, and I like that, you know.
Right.
Um, and plus, I'm not overwhelmed whenever I go down to my shop. I have all of this room to move around. When I look around at things, there's not a whole lot that would even be cluttered. Um, I don't know. To me, it's a more enjoyable experience whenever I have less things.
So because you're talking about this topic, one of the topics that I had actually considered us talking about tonight is the topic of, well, I can't do that because I don't have that tool, or I could do that too if I had that tool and all that.
Yeah,
Because I kept thinking
yeah,
about like
yeah,
there's 97 different ways to do things, and this conversation, like it would be perfect for that because I've been, when I'm considering getting rid of one of these tools, um, I'm like, but there could be, and I know Sedge is going to chime in on this because Sedge, we're going to kick it over to you next. But the drum sander. It's like, I know Sedge loves to have a tool in the event that he ever might need it, but it's just there. Well, those things start to take up space. And I was thinking about that with the drum sander the other day. Like, I have not used the drum sander for months. And then when I was doing that vanity, I had a piece of white oak that was a little bit too thick to use as the edge banding, and I needed to get it down to the same thickness as everything else, but it was only like 1/8 of an inch thick, and I didn't want to run it through the planer. I'm like, I'll just run it through the drum sander, and that's what I used it for. And I'm like, I could have done this 10 other ways, or just taken a new board and just cut an 1/8 inch strip. So I just think that's funny. That will be a topic later on. But Sedge, I want to hear your ideas on that third question.
So what's really cool about this is over the years, I've accumulated a few tools. But Jason, you just did that bathroom downstairs. You needed a Sawzall, right? Did you go get one?
I did after I used yours. I didn't use it on the bathroom. I used it on the concrete stuff.
Okay, so the thing is you always have, if you have a friend in the area, you can always borrow that tool, and you don't have to have it in the shop.
Yeah.
Right. But
I'm going to tell you,
the flip side to that, though, is like, let's say what if I needed it right now?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's where it is nice to have it.
And over the years, people have given me a ton of tools. Or you have a buddy who's closing a shop, and he gives you 50 Phillips head screwdrivers. I'm not exaggerating.
I'm not
exaggerating.
I used 49 yesterday, so
he gives you a box of slides. You gonna get rid of those? No. Okay.
Well, slides? No, absolutely not.
Okay. So here's where we go, and I'm gonna Ben. Kudos, because you took a lot off my list. Yes, electrical. Jason, you know my shop. Ben, you know my shop now. Lighting, and I finally spent it, and I put those American green lights in. It's everything. It's the color rendering is awesome. I love LEDs now. Okay. Flooring, always flooring. I've always had a lighter floor in my shop because of reflectivity off of the lights. That's huge. You nailed everything. Jason, what's the first thing you helped me install? Well, actually, you installed it, and I am a big proponent of this now. Mr. Cool, my mini split. Because right now I'm sitting here, it's a little humid here in Indiana, and it's not just the air conditioning, but it's the humidity, and it takes the humidity out of the air. I can work longer because of it in the summertime. And that heat that thing throws, we had some really big below zero weather this past year. It's unbelievable. It kept up. It has upped my productivity in my, what I call a home shop now. Okay. It's amazing. So those are the things that you really should consider: lighting, electrical, flooring. But now for me, HVAC system. It's just, a mini split in your garage. It's worth it. And when it comes to a professional shop, I always look for space. And when I say space, our office was in the back of the shop. We could loft it. So I had storage. And when I say storage, I'm not just talking about lumber storage. The first thing I built in this home shop when I moved in, Jason, you eyeball it all the time, is my vertical plywood storage. I can get more in that space between my garage doors than anything. It's wasted space. It's wasted space. I like those standards you have for your storage, and I think I may incorporate some of those. I've built a little for lumber storage, but lumber storage is huge. But also storage for all your parts, screws, nails, whatever, slides, hinges. You got to have the right storage. Some people go out and buy all of that. Over the years, I've built it. I got several drawer systems in my shop that I've built because back then I didn't have a couple of dimes to scratch together when I had a shop, when I was first starting out many years ago. So I I'm looking at my bench right now, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 different woods in there because that's what I scrapped off of whatever I had kicking around. But I built those drawers, and it did double duty. It's my skipjack or dead man when I got long boards that I'm planing. I've always toted that around with me. So
Mhm.
it's there's a lot to storage. Cabinets in a shop are huge because you can, you store your finishes and stuff. You don't want to get all dusty if you're kicking up a lot of dust. Now, I forget what episode it was. We were talking about finishing, and you really made me think about this, Jason, because another major area in your shop is where you're going to spray. And I told you I've been spraying outside, but you said, what about the winter? Well, this is the first time that I closed up my 2-bay door, and I did
Mhm.
the higher side mount lift for my single bay. So I'm completely sealed up on that 2-bay door. And that's where I used to spray and kick it out with an air mover in the wintertime. So I didn't have a lot of overspray because I do have an HVLP system. So that's the next thing and that's my struggle right now. If I have a struggle in the shop, is going to be spraying this winter, but I'll have to manage it. And I kind
Yeah,
of have a
it's totally
couple
doable.
ideas. Oh yeah, it's doable. I'll spray over by the single bay door. I'll tent everything off. There's not much to tent over there, except my lawnmower and my snow blower, whatever. But I can.
Honestly, in your shop, I would take your STM and
Yep.
I would put a piece of plywood on top of it. And I
Yep.
would just buy some of those cheap, that's what I did in my shop, buy some of those cheap plastic sheets and put it over any like major tools that are in the immediate area. Cause stuff that's on the
Yep.
other side of your shop is never going to get overspray.
Well, the thing
But
is,
because you have that climate control, you can spray all winter long.
yeah, but what I can do is I can, where my door is out back and I get a nice trade wind walking through,
Mhm.
I can
Yeah.
warm up the shop. And I've done this before, warm up the shop enough, had that propane thrower, spray, open up the doors, blow it out, and then shut it and then heat it up again. And it wasn't that much. I just don't like all that stuff hanging in the air. If I have a lot, which I don't have a lot. So
So one thing I
that's my
will tell
struggle
you,
right now.
we talked about this. Somebody had, I think, had asked this question on our Q&A one, and it was the air filtration system.
Yep.
So I didn't open. I wore a respirator, obviously, when I was spraying that finish. I sprayed it in my enclosed shop, that water-based Target coatings, and I ran my Powermatic, which is mounted to the ceiling. You've seen it. And
Yep.
if you were to come over to my shop right now, you can look at it, and it's actually white on the front side because
Yeah.
it picked up everything out of the air. It's just dust that's on it. I need to actually clean it off, but it did a really, really, really good job of
Cool.
taking that stuff out of the air. So I think that's probably an instance where that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'd shut off my mini split because I wouldn't want to pull that up into it either.
I did the same.
Yeah. Yeah, for
When I
sure.
was spraying, I turned it off and then I turned it back on.
So,
Yep.
so what would you look for, Jason, in a shop layout?
So for me, I mean, you guys covered a lot of things that are all important: lighting, flooring, electrical. Electrical's huge. I'm going to take this a different way, and I'm going to talk about like the things that I would be looking for. Like, let's say I moved onto a new property and it had a shop on the property. I would be looking for, where's the entrance? What kind of access do I have? And that's how I would start gathering how I was going to lay out the shop, right? Because I would walk in the door and I'd say, okay, and this is kind of the big theme that I was trying to get at with this whole conversation. If I had an open space, I would stand at my door and I would say, okay, I'm backing my truck up with my materials. I'm going to download my materials to a certain spot. And then that's where I would start my shop layout. Okay, so the easiest, obviously, answer would be right next to where that door was is where my materials go, because it's the least amount of steps, the least amount of work to get those materials uploaded. Now, from there, I know that that is now my starting point for any project. So with that being known, what is the first place I'm going to go? My assembly table. Well, I would probably put my assembly table somewhere in that immediate vicinity. And then I would have my miter saw station close to that. And I would have my table saw in a way that either was close by, my bandsaw close by, whatever. That's how I would be looking at that. And that is from the experiences that I've had so far, you know, changing up my shop 30 times and figuring out, like in my shop in Georgia, initially I had my table saw right in front of my double doors when you walked into my shop. So whenever I brought materials in, I literally had to like bring them in, maneuver them around my table saw and get them on the other side of the shop. And then I'm like, why am I doing this? This makes no sense. And then I ended up changing everything to where you put my materials right inside the door when you came in, and then everything kind of shifted. So that would be the first thing that I was looking at, outside of the things that we already talked about. The next things that I would really take into a big consideration as a content creator is, do I have a space that I can create an office? For me, I think an office in my shop is very, very important. And I would absolutely 100% be looking for a space to do that, because then that would just make the content creation side of things a lot easier, because it would all be like, my job would all be in that one building. Another thing that I would like would obviously be a space or a room to finish that had the proper ventilation and was sealed off from everything else. And
Classroom?
Again, a what? A bathroom?
A classroom?
Oh yeah, a classroom and a bathroom. Yep. Yes, I would love to have something. So my dream shop, my dream shop.
Dreaming of building together.
Yes. My dream shop would have a finishing room in it. It would have an office in it, but my office would also be like a lounge area. And those two things, and a bathroom and a slop sink. Absolutely 100% a slop sink has to be in the shop. I think that's utterly important.
I've got one in my basement.
I don't, and I need a utility sink big time.
Luckily, I have one right inside my door, because that's where the laundry room is. But
yeah,
again, I don't want to repeat necessarily the things that you guys talked about, because I agree with all of those. I think they're all important.
Yep.
But those would be things that I'm looking for. And then I would, instead of just having the one assembly table, I'd probably have an alternate location, some sort of additional table. But, you know, to kind of make all of this go full circle, the point we're trying to make is that all of us have had, for the most part, have had different ideas and different answers and different things that we've encountered. And at the end of the day, you know, it's really just to help you kind of like realize some things and make some decisions. Because if you're running a cabinet shop, or your shop layout's going to be different from the guy that's building cutting boards and nothing else.
Oh yeah.
If you're somebody that's building, you know, that's cutting trays on a CNC, you know, for Etsy or whatever, your shop layout is going to be completely different. But these are just things that, you know, us over the years have identified and have been thinking about. And again, every time we talk about this stuff, Ben, and you always bring it up, like, it always makes me want to like downsize. It always makes me want to like get rid of things to make more space, which I think is funny.
Well, the thing is I have this shop here, but I also have a fairly large shop up at work.
Yeah.
So I can.
Yeah, we get it. A wall full of sustainers.
Wait a minute.
700 of
Dropping the mic. There we go.
You know, Sedge, if you ever wanted to lighten the load on your shop, you know, mainly the CS70, I would happily take it off of your hands.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Ben's address right now so everybody can send them mail.
Send me your CS70s. You know, Jason, do you remember the phrase shooter's preference?
Oh yeah.
So in the military, whenever it would come to how
take notes, Sedge.
Okay.
Real man talk.
Take out your pick a pen.
Your shooter's
preference. Patrick probably needs to take notes of this too, because he has probably no idea what we're talking about. He was a Marine. Is a Marine. Yeah. Sorry, dang it, I always do that.
So in the military, or at least in the Army, shooter's preference was a saying that you would have whenever it came to how you would organize all the little pouches for your body armor. So you know which side of your plate carrier you would have your magazines, where you would have your first aid pouch, where you would have your
Uh,
night vision goggles stored,
uh,
and
Let me correct you. First aid pouch was always a unit SOP, Ben. You know that.
well, it's always on your non-dominant side, but it
Okay,
has
okay, hang on,
Has to
has
be
to
in
SOP,
the
be.
same place. That way everybody knows where it is, Ben.
Ours was just,
SOP,
it had to be clearly marked. It had to be clearly
Oh,
marked.
well, I'm an
SOP.
infantryman, so we do things smart.
Standard operating procedure.
Oh, see, I'm gonna
So
write that down too.
so all of that to say, the Army tries to standardize as much things as it can to get everyone to look in a uniform manner, which in most cases it is very important. However, when it comes to the individual soldier and their ability to fight the most efficient way, we would always tell them, organize your body armor for shooter's preference. However, it is that makes fighting, war
You more
fighting,
lethal.
yeah, however it makes you the most efficient at whatever it is that you're doing. If it makes sense for you to have your night vision goggles on the back of your body armor, knock yourself out if that's what it really is, even though that's a really terrible idea. But
That's where
that
Cab
that that
Scouts
was
put it.
that was the rule of thumb that we used when we set up our body armor. And so the same thing happens wood shop. You know, I mean, granted, I haven't had too many questions about shop layout and stuff like that. And so I think that most people, when they're asking that, they probably don't have a lot of experience, because that was always the same question you got from brand new soldiers that were saying, well, where do I put my stuff on my body armor? Well, you don't have the experience to know what makes the best sense for your particular situation. And so,
That's actually that's a really good point. It's a good way
you
to think
know,
about it.
so
Yeah.
because Jason, you said it at the beginning of the episode, how some people say that the table saw is the center of their workshop, and that may be very true for some people. I know
Mhm.
that for me that's not true. I know that for Jason it's not true. I know for Sedge that it's not true.
It
Now
used to
that,
be for me.
yeah, it used to be, and I think that it really depends on what you're doing. And if you're
Correct.
if
Correct.
you're wondering how you should lay your shop out, I would, if you're asking that question, that tells me that you don't have a lot of experience yet. And so my recommendation would be to just start making things that you want to make. Especially if you're a
Mhm.
hobbyist. If you're a professional, that's a completely different of avenue of conversation. But for the hobbyist, I would say just start making things.
Mhm.
We talked about it a few episodes back about scroll work. Maybe you're really into scroll work, and the scroll saw is now your the center of your workshop, because that's what you really love to do. Like, that's your jam, you know. And so I think the key takeaway from this is that you want to think about, okay, what is the most critical or the most used item, or what is the layout that is going to make me the best at what I do. I think that's what you're trying to get at with this, right, Jason? What is going
Yes.
to reduce the amount of steps that I have to take to make me an efficient woodworker, or an
But
efficient scroll star, or
the goal,
And
the
it's gonna
yeah,
change.
exactly,
yes,
it
100%.
It's
will.
100%.
work in progress.
Absolutely.
Changes
The other
all the
Absolutely.
time.
the
Yep.
other thing that I was really trying to get out of this, though, is to help people identify what that thing in their shop that is the most important is, because that's where you should, then start to focus your attention. You have to identify the anchor point before you identify all the other things. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, the majority of the questions that come through social media and that people ask, and I'm not saying this to be like a jerk or anything like that. I think a lot of it stems from inexperience, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's also people just trying to hit the easy button.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
what I mean by that is, we're in a day and age now where if you want to know something, you know, you can go on your phone and in 2 seconds you have an answer. It may not be the right answer, but you have the answer. And I think that's also the way that civilization acts now. instead of trying to research and find out the topic, they're just going to go to somebody that they trust and be like, hey, what should I do? And a perfect example of
Yeah.
that is tools. Like, what tools should I buy next? I have this, this, and this. And we talked about this on an episode.
I
It's
have
like,
no idea what you need next.
yeah, there
Yeah.
is no easy button for this. I could tell you all I want, but that doesn't mean that that's going to work well for you.
I'm
And that's
I'm
why
going
I
to tell you
like-
right now that you should buy the Contura for my affiliate link. That's what I'm going to tell
Yeah.
every person that asks me
The-
if they should buy it next.
I'm surprised you still have one for it with Amazon being the way it is. But you know, the whole topic of conversation of like, you know, I want to do X, Y, and Z, you know, is this the perfect thing for me to do? It's like, we don't know, you know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we don't know. I can tell you that's one reason I like to do my shop tour videos. And I did this on the last shop tour video, and the response was actually really good. Instead of just sitting there like most shop tour videos and be like, hold on, let me find something. And this right here I have the Domino. This is the Domino 500. I'll leave a link to this down in the video description below. And this right here, this is the Festival MFK 700. I'll leave a video description or a link to the video down below.
Do shop tours do that? People do that?
Absolutely, because most shop tours, and don't get me wrong, I don't blame them because I get it. They're making affiliate marketing off of it, but that's how they like, it's an easy video and it's like, hey, here's a bunch of tools that I can link in the video description. But the way I like to approach it is I like to go around and talk about why I have something where I have it. Like I have a shop tour video for this year it's gonna be my last video of the year.
Is Jay going to show up and do that one too?
No, I wish he was. We've talked about him coming out and he keeps dragging his feet. He doesn't want to come visit me anymore. But I want to talk about that. Like, here's why I have this here and here's what the benefits are.
Yeah.
Because this goes back again, like I love watching shop tour videos because I always pick something up that I'm like, that's a really good idea. And I'm going to try to incorporate that in my shop. As much as it pains me to say this, Sedge, and as much as I hate Kaizen foam and the thought of cutting all that stuff, every time I go over to your shop and you're cutting something into Kaizen foam, even though I look at it, I'm like, that looks like it takes way too much time. Once it's in there, I'm like, God, I need to do that. Like I have Kaizen foam sitting right here for months.
And you know, when something's out of there, it's missing.
What it is. Yeah.
And it protects your tools in that drawer.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of it. I used to do, you want to talk about taking a lot of time. I used to French fit, and you've seen my chisel drawer where I cut those out of a piece of plywood and then laminated on another piece of wood, but it's French fitted, and my chisels stay always sharp in there because they're not jostled around in the drawer. Then the Kaizen foam is so much easier. Jason, when you were over yesterday, what was it, Saturday? Right in front of you, we were talking, and I was cutting those 4 chisels out for that Sortainer, right?
Yeah.
And I just cut them out while we were shooting the General BS. It's so easy. Kaizen foam is the bomb.
Yeah.
And I
need to bring back the Ben's daily organizational task.
Yeah.
I was doing that for a while.
But guess what? People dig that stuff. And with YouTube Shorts now, I shot last weekend, I shot about 5 or 6 shorts. Because the guys, when Derek's over here, and tell me you haven't done it. I've done it at your shop, Jason. When we're talking, you're pulling out a drawer and going, what the hell's in here? I do that at all kinds of shops. If I feel comfortable and I joke around, I go, oh my God, is that cool? The thing I look for in shops, but I don't do a lot of on YouTube watching shop tours. Everybody's asking me for a shop tour, but I look for what I dig jigs. You know, when people as you look over and go, well, what's that jig for? And it starts a conversation. And man, that's fun. And there's a lot of things that I got planned for the next couple of years to do for content about, maybe building a jig here and there, because I got jigs that are 25, 30 years old.
Sedge, what were those round rubber things I found in one of your drawers?
Those I used to cover up the beer bottles so they don't lose carbonation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so
you just ain't right.
I know there's something wrong with me. So I say we close out that topic.
Okay.
I think it was beneficial. I think a lot of people are going to get good stuff out of that. I mean, I even took a couple of good things from it, from Sedge, not from Ben, of course, because
Oh my God.
Ben doesn't know anything. But
You know, it doesn't matter what your shop, what you're trying to make in your shop. You just want to try to figure out how can I be the most efficient with what I'm doing. I think that's really what it boils down to is being efficient with the time that you have.
and even if
Yeah.
you're not somebody that's doing production work, being the most
Yeah.
comfortable and enjoying your space the most.
Absolutely.
I would say that's the other side of it.
Absolutely.
Ben, Sedge and I were talking. I can't remember if we came up with this. I know obviously we're doing Get Bent, which is now the new topic. But we like the idea of sharing a channel each episode as well. Can we do that too? Can we do both?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I think it's
So
a good idea.
let's do an IG account or a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that first.
Okay.
And Ben, we'll do the same order. Ben will go first. And then Mr. Sedgley. And while you guys are doing that, I already have mine all teed up, but
Yeah,
I do want to.
Me
I've already
too.
got mine.
Me too.
Mine.
I do want to make sure I can find a negative comment. I came unprepared. Oh, and there's one other thing I need to mention, which I have not mentioned in this episode yet. My coffee. That's it.
Oh, you always mention Mike.
Yep, I always have to mention Mike.
Are you? When are you going to California?
No, I was going to, but then Nicole came home early.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the day I was going to go help him move his shop, and I'm actually really bummed out that I couldn't do it. Like, I actually almost bought the ticket, and literally the very next morning, I was like, I'll wait till tomorrow to buy the ticket. The very next morning, Nicole was like, "Hey, I think we're coming home early," and I just called Mike, and I was like, "Hey, man, I really apologize, but I'm not going to be able to make it. My wife's coming home early." But looks like his move has been going pretty well. We love you, Mike. Can't wait to see you at Workbench Con.
For sure.
All right. So my Instagram recommendation for this week or for this episode is Sarah.Sawdust. And she does scroll work. I mean, I'm sure that it's all commissioned pieces, but I mean, I'm holding it up to the screen right now. That is all scroll. Like, it looks like a freaking painting.
Wow.
Like, all of those different shades of color, those are all different scrolled pieces. I've been following her for a while. But it is like her work it is so detailed. It definitely isn't work that I would ever want to do myself. It seems very tedious to me. However, like it's just awesome work what she does with scroll work, whether it's a bandsaw or scroll saw. I don't know, but
I'm sorry, Sarah dot what?
Sawdust. Sarah.Sawdust.
SARAH.
AH.
Okay.
Yep. Sawdust.
I just typed in SARA and she came up second one. Follower. Awesome.
Yeah, just really incredible work.
Oh wow. Hell yeah. Look at that.
You see that river?
Look at those. The Louis cubes are awesome. The Lois cubes are awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Incredible work.
Yeah.
Incredible work. What do you got this week, Sedge? Sarah, SARAH.Sawdust.
Yep. God, this is I think this is my favorite part right now. Trading good IG accounts. Okay, so do you guys know this one? It's Vic Tesselin Woodworks on IG.
Whoa.
And that's
She follows me.
VIC _ Tesselin TESOLIN _ Woodworks. Okay. This guy is a kid. This guy is a character and a half. I've known him for quite a few years. I met him. He used to work at Lee Valley. He still may. I don't know. But Vic is wicked cool. And he wrote a book called The Minimalist. And it's kind of funny because this kind of dials into what you guys were talking about less is more. He wrote a book called The Minimalist Woodworker, and he has a second book out, Projects of the Minimalist. I can't say it, Woodworker. He has online classes. He has classes in person. He teaches now classes, Jace, up at KJP Select Hardwoods up in
Yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah,
This
I was just
guy-
gonna say I saw he posted the drill bits that they just sent me on his page.
I've never met anybody who didn't like Vic. He is awesome. And when we were talking about this, I just want to call out really good people I've known in the woodworking community, and Vic's one of them. Every time I say his name, I smile because we've had some real fun times together. So he's just funny, and he's an incredible woodworker. So just thought I'd call it out.
I did want to because I just saw those drill bits. So KJP, they sent me a set of their Brad points and their Forstner bits.
Yeah, the Bormax.
And I used both
from FAMAG.
Yeah, I used both on the bathroom renovation. I used one of their Brad points. They're fantastic, but I used those Forstner bits, and I love the festival Forstner bits that I have. Thanks, Ben. If this is your first time recording a podcast, press 1 now.
You did it like episode 3. Shut up.
Oh my God.
I use those Forstner bits to drill out my hinge cup locations.
Yeah.
They produce a completely different shaving. It is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like regular Forstner bits, like make those big shavings.
Yep.
Because of the grooves, I'm going to be doing a video comparing these to other ones.
Cool.
At some point, but
yep.
Because not all Forstner bits are created equal. That's a fact.
That is for sure.
Holy cow! I mean, it's like I just ran them through my helical head planer.
Yep.
That's kind of shavings it produces on a Forstner bit. I was like, wow, this is really impressive. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off track, but
so
mine, you guys are both probably following this individual, and I've talked about him before, but I'm going to do mine this week on Cliff over at Ham Built.
Yeah.
Which is, you guys are both following. Let me read it off just so everybody that may not be following him.
Everybody has to.
The credenza master.
It's just HAMBUILT, all one word, Ham Built. His name is Cliff, and I've been following this guy and we've spoken on the phone once, but I've been following him for a very, very long time, pretty much since the beginning. And he makes a very select amount of pieces of furniture. He kind of specializes in a few different things, and he's developed some new things over the past few years. But holy cow, the level of craftsmanship in the stuff that he does, even though it's like I see a lot of the same things over and over and over again, I still never look away. Like, I just love it. If you guys aren't following him, you need to. The credenza that I built was 100% based on his credenzas, the diamond pattern doors, the whole design. He just does fantastic work. He really does amazing furniture. And I think he's definitely somebody that people should be following for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, with that being said, it's time for our new segment, which is also an old segment,
retitled,
but it's called
Get
Bent. Hold on,
Bent.
we have to have one that is like really a good thing that Ben can use all the time. So let me try it again. Get bent. There you go, Ben. You can use that in future ones. All right, so this is what I was going to read last time. And I actually have 4. I'm going to get through them really quick, though, I promise. These are all from my 10 tools. If I ever want negative comments to read, I'm just going to go back to this and read these comments. So I had these all queued up and ready to go for episode 6, but we did this
one.
just the previous segment. Yeah. Okay, these are all 4 from my 10 woodworking tools that everyone should own. That's what I titled it. And I can't wait for the new videos that are going to be coming out here in the next couple of months. All right, first one. This is from Oh Really. Oh wait, I said I wasn't going to read the names. I guess that was kind of screwed up. Anyway, Oh Really. Here's your comment. First 70 seconds, waste of time. Just get on with it. Followed with, let's not waste Ant more time. So he knows, but still does it.
You already did that one.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. That was like episode 1.
Oh, okay. Next one.
Hashtag awkward.
Hashtag awkward. Well, maybe somebody's starting on episode 7. I don't.
He didn't give his name on episode 2.
Yeah, that was the very first one you did.
Are you sure? I'm gonna have to go back and listen because
I am 100% positive.
All right, fine. It's still good. Okay.
Get bent.
Yeah, get bent. I'm not. I keep reading the names. I'm not going to do it again. Next one. Got to about 20 seconds into the video, but the classless, annoying, irritating, and distracting background music ran me off and compelled me to hit that thumbs down button. And when I was enunciating that, I was doing air quotes just so everybody knows. When will these YouTube posters learn that the viewer is not enthralled with the sort of crap music that is all too common here? Thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments.
I think he needs to borrow your planer.
Yeah, not to mention, I will admit that some of my earlier videos did have a very gaudy intro.
You had a little bit of dubstep going on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought it was great. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to put intros on my videos. All right. This is a good one. You guys remember in my old shop how I put up the drywall, but I never finished it?
Yeah.
For a very long time. This one. It's hard to read. All right. Paint your drywall before it sucks up all the moisture in your neighborhood.
That's actually pretty good. That's good.
I got so many comments about the drywall on early videos that I finally, because I know that this is. I put up the drywall and then it was just the tape and I'm like, it's a shop, who cares? And finally I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I literally moved everything and I painted the whole thing. And I was very glad that I did it at the end, but I can't believe how many people were just, so distraught over the fact that I didn't paint my walls.
I know that this is my first time at the homeowner association meeting, but I just want to thank the Bent household for absorbing all the humidity.
Yeah, I should. You know what I should have responded with? Hey, man, I live in Georgia. Anything we can do to get rid of the humidity is good. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. I saved the best for last.
I thought the last one was good.
It's hard to take somebody serious when they disrespect their tape by snapping it.
You hear that, tape? Huh? You hear that? I'm gonna snap you.
Like,
Trevor!
Really,
Trevor, bring me the tape.
Yeah, I've heard so many people make that comment about like tape measures, like, how dare you disrespect your tape measure by snapping it? Like, why would you snap your tape measure? It's like, shut up. The thing costs like $9. I have 42 of them in my shop. You think I give a crap?
And then it just
snapping the tape.
It just cuts to the tape measure talking about how he felt disrespected by Jason. And then he just snapped me out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hashtag me too.
Unbelievable. Some people.
God.
I can't believe you would do that.
How about you show your tape measure a little bit more respect, Jason?
Yeah. How dare you?
I'd appreciate it. I guess
if you just
a little bit more respect. Maybe like 10 more millimeters of respect, Jason.
I guess
For
your
tape
tape.
measure.
No. Nobody making the comment would ever use metric. Come on, Ben. I guess your tape measure doesn't have
One more.
feelings.
Because it doesn't. It's a tape measure.
Another idea that I had for a topic that we could do is like something we bought and talking about it. So maybe we need to start like switching back and forth. One week I do get bent. Another week we do, tools that we bought over the last 2 weeks. But I know we may not always buy tools. But I did just order something that I'm glad I finally ordered. But I guess we'll save that for another day, unless you guys want to know what it is.
I do.
What is it?
So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping that woodpeckers would bring these back. Their setup blocks that they have.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Sedge, when I sold Alma the bandsaw, I gave her my Carter setup blocks
Yeah.
because I wanted her to have the whole system, and I
Yep.
use those things for everything. Well, now I don't have
Uh-huh.
them, and I had intended on buying them again, but I went on Amazon, and I've had these in my cart for a very long time. But I bought the eye gauging set,
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 8, 10, 12.5, 16, 19, 20. And then the last big block right here is a 25 by 50 by 75. So it's 3 different measurements
Way
in one.
cool.
But I'm very, very happy I finally got these because setup blocks just make everything. And I'm going to be featuring these
Yep.
on one of the videos.
Was it
Later in
metric
the
or
year.
imperial?
It's
Metric.
for sure.
Metric.
Metric. Oh, metric.
I
all
almost
the
bought
way.
the Imperial set too, but I mean, at this point, anything that I'm doing is, pretty much metric.
I just
I
hit
just-
100,000 views on Sedge Tool on the metric
Heyo.
versus Imperial. And
Holy crap.
Wow.
yeah, and it's pretty cool. And I answer all the comments. And now it's gotten to the point where, yeah, I'm a lousy American. I'm a dumb American. You finally switched over. And you know what I just typed back? Cool. But
Good for you.
Good
Lazy
for,
dumb
yeah,
American.
yeah, but man, it's just people. Ben, you mentioned it when you did that thing on do I really need a table saw?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh, God.
people that stirs up
Oh, it
up
does,
a
man.
lot.
It-
And
people.
Imperial and metric stores
Oh man,
stirs it up.
there's a nerve that gets hit with people.
Woo!
Man.
Woo.
Speaking of hitting nerves, did I tell you guys that post that I did about the builder grade post that I did and my anger? I did a post on Instagram. You can actually go back and look at it and read the comments, but it was like I pulled out the vanity and there was like a old piece of trim that was back there to like cover up the gap that they could just throw their little trim to cover. Yeah, man,
Yeah, I saw that.
I stirred up. I mean, I hit a nerve with some people on that one.
Contractor nerve, I'm sure.
Man,
Oh,
I'll
for
tell
sure.
you. I was on the phone earlier.
And I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't the point. But wow.
I was
Well,
on the
I mean,
phone. Go ahead.
Frustration as a homeowner, though. Go ahead, Sedge.
Man, I'll tell you what, frustrations are getting out there in our industry. My buddy called me tonight, and I was on the phone with him, and he was buying a 1x6, 8-foot piece of cedar at a big box, and it was 27 bucks, right? Which is ludicrous. But the 12-foot was 17. It made no sense. So he said he pulled the manager over and he says, well, I could tell you a story, but it's, more, we know what people are going to buy.
Right.
And nobody's going to buy the 12-foot. So we'll mark that down and mark the other one up because we need to make the money. And he was livid. So, of course he bought the 12-foot, took it outside and cut it.
I mean, I would have too.
I would have, but he was just really worked up about it. I was laughing at him.
Yeah.
But man, frustrations are running high.
Another Woodshop podcast on their recent episode. Hey, there we go. I talked about Mike and the boys again.
When are they going to give us some love,
I know, right? They haven't even mentioned our podcast yet, jerks.
Selfish.
that topic came up about the prices and how a lot of them still haven't changed. And Mike brought up a very good point, talking about like companies are just taking advantage of an opportunity, and that's kind of how the market works. And I don't blame them. He's right. It drives up demand on everywhere across the board. So even if a company doesn't have a shortage, of course they're going to raise their prices. Why wouldn't they? Because they're paying for everywhere else. I actually, I did want to mention something about that post that I did. I did some stories and I tagged Nick Schiffer over at NS Builders, and he had wrote me back, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's a shame." And because I told him, I was like, doing remodeling and stuff in my house, and like, seeing the quality that like NS Builders and the guys from Modern Craftsman do, it makes me wonder like where the craftsmanship and where the pride is. And I know a big part of that is because builders are paying guys bottom dollar to get stuff done so they can maximize their profits. So there's a part of me that doesn't blame the person doing the work, because they're doing the work for what they're getting paid for. If you want somebody to do stellar work, pay them stellar money. And I'm a big proponent of that. But Nick had made a comment back. He was just like, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing nowadays is just a shame, because I guarantee you he's not paying his guys bottom dollar, which is why they produce amazing work. But with that being said, I did mention to him that we would love to have him on the podcast, and he said he was all about it. He was ready to do it whenever. So
yeah, he's such a
we should
good
definitely get
dude.
him on.
I saw him in Providence when I was there. We shot the General BS. He's a good dude, man.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I think this one's a wrap. Another good one.
Absolutely.
They're getting longer every time, and I like it. I can tell Ben has to get back to his Scrabble game by himself, but
his kitty's on the bed back there.
yeah, he's got to go hang out
might,
with his cat, play Scrabble, and drink lattes.
I might have a second.
Whatever it is that you do.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, alrighty, Jason. Where can everyone that is listening to this podcast find you?
At Ben's Woodworking on Instagram. Wait, did I say to start with us first? Because Sedge has like 900 up. Yeah, I did. I think I did. Yeah, you can find me at Ben's Woodworking on Instagram. Kind of a big deal. Ben's Woodworking on YouTube, or benswoodworking.com for all of your woodworking and more needs. Ben, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Ben Marshall Designs, and for the first time ever, my own website. www.marshalldesignworks.com.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Really?
I mean,
tell me about this.
What, you're just telling us now?
Because for right now, it's just for school. Like I had to have it for one of my
Marshall.
I had to marshalldesignworks.com. I had to have it for my senior seminar, my senior thesis. But so it's like
that is a beautiful picture of you. I'm totally reposting this.
Don't post it right now, because
woodworking is hard. I'm here to make it easy.
This is for school.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Does it say?
Look at that picture. Look at that picture.
Oh my God.
So that picture.
White Claw?
So that picture, I had to have this assignment done like within an hour of that picture. So I was like, crap, I need to have like an about me. So I just that was me sitting in one of my classrooms when I was working on this website. So now this is just for school.
I like it.
But eventually that'll be my by the time this episode posts, it should be ready.
Wow.
So now you're definitely never going to have any time to do anything for me.
Cool.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
Cool.
Nice walnut table. Wait,
walnut.
What? Ben? Plans? Excuse me?
Wow. Fusion 360.
That's the plan.
Ben,
What?
are you going to do plans for me?
It's a placeholder. I told you, Jason, to send me, which, I mean, I told
Send
you to
him
send
the
me
plans so we
well,
can
no,
do the plans.
I told him to
Can
send
you-
me a file, but really I can just go to his website and get the file myself. I didn't even think about that until about a week ago.
Could you do a set of plans this week for a very simple table?
Yeah, as long as you give me the dimensions.
I'm sending them to you tonight.
Okay, I can definitely do it.
Amazing. Anyway,
But that's
sorry, we got
me, Sedge. Go ahead with your 20 different places we can find you, Sedge.
We got
You
another
can
hour
find
for the
me
podcast.
at SedgeTool, www.sedgetool.com, at SedgeTool on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, on YouTube. But I'm also at Festool Sedge on Instagram. We have Festool Shop Talk on the Festool USA website. And we have Festool Live every Friday at noon.
And
Outstanding.
also, you can find him on Tinder, and his name is
Hey,
Sedge's.
hey, the tool
Swipe
of
left or
Sedge.
right, whatever it
Sedge's
is. I don't
Tool
know.
on Tinder.
Hey, I don't have my kitty on the bed behind there.
Yeah, it's true. Ben's Tool.
Oh my God.
Good time.
Well, hey,
So cool.
this wraps up episode 7. We
Yep.
we definitely appreciate our patrons. Without
Yes,
which
yes,
we wouldn't be
yes.
able to do this content. And we really appreciate everybody that is constantly giving us feedback about the podcast.
Yes.
We are so aware of audio, and that is by far the biggest topic that we always talk about off the air, which is how can we make audio better. I purchased and downloaded a completely different editing software. I'm trying to learn that as well. We're trying to make audio as best as possible.
Was
So-
I supposed to hit the record button?
No, you're totally fine. We got it.
Okay.
We'll ad lib you in.
Yep.
Cool.
I will say that by the time this comes out, episode 6 I think was a big upgrade, and episode
Oh,
7 is
yeah.
obviously going to be the
Yeah,
same.
it
So
definitely sounds really great. Definitely
Thank you for
sounds great.
being patient, everybody.
Absolutely. And you know, and like I said, audio quality is one of the biggest things that we're always working for. That's one thing that I always am trying to get better at as the editor of the podcast is how can I make the audio better? We know that, you know, good audio starts at the source, and so, you know, we're looking at how can we record better, make the audio sound better. So again, we really appreciate everyone's feedback. We appreciate the reviews. We appreciate the DMs that you guys send us, you know, telling us how the audio sounds, and to keep it coming, because we feed off of those things.
And also, if you're listening to on Apple, rate this for us and leave a review.
Absolutely.
oh yeah,
100%.
Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for us at Green Suiters Podcast. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video, and we look forward to the next episode.
Thank you.
Peace out.
awesome. See you guys.
Hey, this has been co-host and editor of the Green Suiters Podcast. This episode is over, but if you want to hear more topics like this and you want to be a part of our conversation, head over to patreon.com/Green Suiters Podcast for early access to each show. If you're listening to this on free feeds, be sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.